The same mouths I once fed called me useless. Now they begged the landlord I sold the house to for one more month to catch up on rent. I never thought it would come to this. At 63, I imagined I'd be enjoying retirement, perhaps traveling occasionally or tending to my garden in peace. Instead, I spent the last 15 years maintaining the sprawling Victorian house I inherited from my parents, while it slowly filled with family members who had nowhere else to go or simply didn't want to pay their own way. First came my brother, Richard, after his divorce. "Just until I get back on my feet, Ellie," he promised. 15 years later, he was still unemployed, still occupying the master bedroom I'd given up for him. Then came his new wife, Donna, who never once offered to help with dishes despite having all day free while I worked full-time as a hospital administrator. My daughter Jessica arrived next, with little Michael in tow, after her own marriage collapsed. I welcomed them with open arms. What mother wouldn't? Before we continue, comment where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. But soon my nephew Carl needed a place to stay after college. Then his sister Amber joined when her roommate situation got complicated. Before I knew it, I was supporting 6 adults and 1 child in a house designed for a single family. I paid the mortgage, the utilities, bought the groceries, cooked the meals, and cleaned what I could manage when I came home exhausted from work. On weekends, I'd wake at dawn to prepare Sunday brunch. Richard's favorite Belgian waffles, Amber's vegetarian omelets, Jessica's chocolate chip pancakes for Michael. Family takes care of family, my mother always said. I believed that with all my heart until the fall. It happened on a Tuesday. I was carrying a basket of laundry down the stairs, everyone's laundry as usual, when my foot slipped on one of Michael's toy cars. I tumbled down half a flight, landing in a crumpled heap at the bottom. The pain was immediate and blinding. X-rays showed a fractured wrist and a sprained ankle. "You need to rest," Dr. Matthews instructed firmly. "No cooking, cleaning, or household chores for at least 2 weeks, preferably a month." I worried about how the house would function without me, but a small, hopeful part of me thought, maybe now they'll step up. Maybe now they'll see everything I do. That evening, I sat in the living room with my wrist in a cast and my ankle elevated, watching as chaos unfolded. No one prepared dinner. Jessica ordered pizza, charging it to my credit card without asking. Dishes piled in the sink. Laundry overflowed the hampers. By day 3, the house was a disaster. I tried to hobble to the kitchen to at least wash some dishes, but Richard stopped me. "Ellie, sit down before you hurt yourself worse," he said, not unkindly. For a moment, my heart warmed, but then he added, "We need you back on your feet. This place is falling apart without you. Not, let me help. Not, we'll handle things. Just the urgent need for me to resume my role as the family workhorse." By the end of the first week, I was desperate for a shower but couldn't manage alone with my cast. I asked Jessica to help. "Mom, I'm running late for my hair appointment," she said, barely glancing up from her phone. "Can't Donna help you?" Donna, who was watching television in the next room, called out, "I've got a bad back, you know that?" I sat in my room, unwashed and humiliated, wondering when I had become invisible to the people I had given everything to. That Sunday morning, I woke to hushed voices in the kitchen below my room. The window was open to let in the cool autumn air, and their words drifted up clearly. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but what I heard froze me in place. "How long is she going to milk this injury?" Richard was saying. "The house is a mess and there's nothing decent to eat." "I know," Donna agreed. "I had to make my own coffee yesterday." Jessica's voice joined in. "She's always been a bit dramatic. Remember when she had that flu last year? Acted like it was pneumonia." "Useless," Richard muttered, and the word struck me like a physical blow. Completely useless now, and to think this whole house will go to waste because she never put it in the family trust like Dad wanted. "We should talk to her about that again," Donna suggested. "Now might be the perfect time when she's feeling vulnerable about not contributing." "Good idea," Richard said. "I've got the paperwork from that lawyer friend of mine. We just need her signature to make the house jointly owned by all of us. For protection, you know, in case something happens to her." I sank back against my pillows, tears streaming silently down my face. Useless. After everything I had sacrificed, everything I had given. Useless. The conversation continued, voices rising and falling as they discussed my home, my inheritance, as if it was already theirs, as if I was already gone. Something broke inside me that morning, not my heart, that had been breaking slowly for years. No, what broke was the chain of obligation that had kept me bound to these people who claimed to be family but treated me like nothing more than a convenient resource. The next day, while everyone was out, I made 3 phone calls. First, to Dr. Matthews, who arranged for a home health aide to help me shower and dress. Second, to Harold Green, my parents' lawyer, who had helped me with the inheritance years ago. And third, to my old college roommate, Linda, who had been trying to convince me for years to move to the sunny senior living community where she now lived. Harold arrived that afternoon, his weathered face grave when I explained what I'd overheard. "Eleanor," he said, "I've been concerned about your situation for some time. Your brother has actually called me twice, asking about ways to get his name on your deed." He paused, his bushy eyebrows drawing together. I told him nothing, of course. Attorney-client privilege. "He's trying to take my house," I whispered, the reality of it sinking in. "They're all just waiting." Harold patted my hand. "The house is solely in your name. No one can force you to sign anything." "What if," I began, hardly daring to voice the thought forming in my mind. "What if I sold it?" 2 weeks later, I signed the papers from my hospital bed after a minor surgery to repair ligament damage in my ankle. The buyers were a lovely couple, the Millers, who planned to convert the old Victorian into an upscale assisted living home. They offered fair market value and agreed to allow my family to stay as paying tenants for up to 6 months, to give them time to find new arrangements. I used part of the proceeds to secure a beautiful 1-bedroom apartment in Sunshine Palms, the senior community where Linda lived. The rest I invested for my future. My future. Not Richard's or Jessica's or anyone else's. I didn't tell my family right away. I waited until I could stand on my own 2 feet again, both literally and figuratively. I waited until I was strong, enough to weather the storm I knew would come. The day I finally told them changed everything, and nothing. The day I chose to tell them was a Sunday. There's a certain symmetry in that. The day I'd overheard their true feelings about me would be the same day they'd learn about mine. I'd arranged for the Millers to join us for brunch, though as usual, I was the one who prepared everything. Belgian waffles for Richard, vegetarian frittata for Amber, chocolate chip pancakes for Michael. My final performance as the family cook. Everyone was gathered around the dining table, mostly ignoring me as usual, when the doorbell rang. "I'll get it," I said, rising slowly from my chair. My ankle was still tender, but the cane gave me stability, both physically and emotionally. I needed that stability for what came next. I returned with Mr. and Mrs. Miller, both dressed in smart, business casual attire. The confused looks on my family's faces almost made me laugh. "Everyone," I said, my voice steadier than I'd expected, "I'd like you to meet James and Patricia Miller, the new owners of this house." The silence was absolute. 5 forks clattered against plates simultaneously. Richard recovered first. "What the hell are you talking about, Ellie?" His face flushed red, a vein pulsing at his temple, the same expression he'd had as a child when someone took his toys. "I've sold the house," I replied simply. "The paperwork was finalized last week." "You can't do that!" Donna shrieked, half rising from her chair. "This is our home." "Actually," James Miller interjected smoothly, "it's our home now, but we're happy to discuss rental terms with all of you for a transitional period of up to 6 months. Jessica's eyes filled with tears, always her first defense. "Mom, how could you? Where will Michael and I go? How could you do this to your own grandson?" I'd anticipated the guilt trip, steeled myself against it. "The same place you would have. Gone when I died and Richard took over the house, which is what you were all planning, wasn't it?" Their shocked expressions confirmed what I already knew. They never expected me to find out. "That's not— we didn't—" Richard sputtered. "I heard you," I said quietly. "That Sunday morning while I was injured, I heard everything. How I'm useless. How you were planning to trick me into signing over the house. How you were just waiting for the right moment to take advantage of my vulnerability." Richard's face went from red to white. Jessica looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Amber and Carl exchanged guilty glances. "You misunderstood," Richard tried. Again. "We were just worried about—" "Save it," I cut him off. "I've made my decision. The Millers are converting this property into an assisted living facility. As I said, they're willing to let you stay as paying tenants for up to 6 months, while you make other arrangements." "Paying?" Donna's voice rose to a screech. "You expect us to pay rent? After everything we've done for you?" The absurdity of her statement almost made me laugh. What exactly had any of them done for me except take? The monthly rent will be $2,800, Patricia Miller explained, her professional tone a stark contrast to the emotional chaos around her, which is actually below market value for a property of this size in this neighborhood. That's outrageous. Richard slammed his fist on the table. Ellie, you can't do this. I'm calling a lawyer. Feel free, I replied calmly. Harold Green handled the sale. You can start with him. The mention of my lawyer's name silenced Richard immediately. He knew then that I knew about his attempts to go behind my back. Where will you go? Jessica asked, her voice small, finally asking the question that should have been first. I've purchased an apartment at Sunshine Palms Senior Living Community, I answered. I move in next week. So you're abandoning your family? Richard said, his voice cold with accusation. Throwing us out on the street to go live in some retirement village? No, Richard, I countered. I'm finally taking care of myself after decades of taking care of everyone else. I'm 63 years old. When exactly did you think I'd get to live my own life? The conversation deteriorated from there. Threats, tears, accusations. Richard stormed out, Donna following close behind. Jessica cried that I was ruining Michael's life. Only Carl, my quietest nephew, eventually approached me after the Millers had left. Aunt Ellie, he said softly, I should have helped more. I'm sorry. His apology, the only one I received, touched me unexpectedly. Thank you, Carl. Do you really have to go? He asked. I nodded, feeling a lump in my throat. I do. This house, it's become a cage, not a home. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. Will you be okay there? At the senior place? I think I'll be more than okay, I said, surprised to find I truly believed it. I'll finally be free. The next week was tense. Richard and Donna barely spoke to me, passing through rooms like angry ghosts. Jessica tried different tactics. First rage, then tearful pleas, then offers to do better, if only I would reconsider. Michael, innocent in all this, just seemed confused by the sudden change in atmosphere. I packed methodically, sorting through decades of possessions. It was liberating to decide what to keep and what to leave behind. The china set my mother had given me that Donna had always coveted, donated. The antique writing desk Richard had claimed years ago, sold to a dealer. I kept only what brought me joy or served a purpose in my new life. The day I left, only Carl came to help load my modest belongings into the moving van. As I took a final walk through the house, my house, though not anymore, memories flooded back. My parents' laughter in the kitchen, my daughter taking her first steps in the living room, years of Christmases and birthdays and ordinary Tuesdays. But overlaying those memories were newer ones. Richard's dismissive voice calling me useless, Jessica's constant demands, the crushing weight of responsibility without appreciation. I didn't cry when I locked the door for the last time. I didn't look back as the van pulled away. I was too busy looking forward to what came next. Freedom. Chapter 3. New Foundations. Sunshine Palms wasn't what I expected. No sterile hallways or hospital smell. Instead, I found myself in a vibrant community of adobe-style apartments surrounding courtyards and a sparkling pool. My one-bedroom unit had large windows that flooded the space with morning light. For the first time in 15 years, I had a space that was entirely mine. No one else's dishes in my sink, no one else's laundry in my hamper. That first morning, I lay in bed listening to the silence. No Richard demanding breakfast. No Donna's blaring television. No Jessica asking me to watch Michael. Just peaceful quiet and birdsong. I cried then. Not from sadness, but from relief so profound it felt like physical pain. Linda arrived at 10 a.m. to show me around. My old college roommate had aged beautifully, her silver hair in a stylish bob, her movements energetic. Sleep well? She asked, hugging me. Better than I have in years, I admitted. The community tour revealed amenities I hadn't considered. Library, art studio, garden plots, weekly movie nights, and classes from water aerobics to pottery. What's this one? I asked, pointing to second acts on the schedule. Career counseling, Linda explained. Many residents start small businesses or part-time work. I'd never considered working again after retirement, but something stirred inside, me with unexpected interest. We were having lunch when my phone began buzzing incessantly. 6 missed calls from Jessica, 4 from Richard, numerous texts, each more frantic than the last. Everything okay? Linda asked. Family drama, I sighed, silencing the phone. They're not handling the transition well. Linda's eyes softened. They thought they'd inherit your house. It wasn't a question. I nodded anyway. My kids were the same when I sold the family home, she confided. They got over it, eventually. I wasn't sure mine would. The texts kept coming. Jessica, Mom, where are you? Michael is crying for his grandma Richard. The Millers want first and last month's rent, plus a security deposit. This is your fault, Donna. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? I turned off my phone that evening and slept. Another night of uninterrupted peace. The pattern continued through my first week. Frantic messages alternating between guilt trips and anger, always with the same underlying demand: fix this for us. The same people who called me useless now couldn't function without me. I began establishing routines that prioritized my well-being. Morning yoga, breakfast with new friends, afternoons reading books I'd put off for years. I even signed up for watercolor classes, something I'd always wanted to try. On day 9, a knock at my door. Not Linda's familiar rap, but something hesitant. I opened it to find Jessica standing there, Michael clutching her hand. "Hi, Mom," she said with a weak smile. "Surprise. How did you find my apartment?" Linda told us, she admitted. I called the front office pretending to be worried about you. "Can we come in?" she asked, already stepping forward. Reluctantly, I moved aside. Michael ran to hug my legs, the only genuinely happy person to see me. "Grandma, you have a swimming pool." "The community does," I clarified, ruffling his hair. Jessica surveyed my apartment with calculating eyes. "It's cozy." Her tone suggested a less flattering assessment. "Perfect for one person," I replied pointedly. She opened my cabinets without asking. "No guest room?" "No. Where will Michael and I sleep when we visit? There are guest suites available. For family, you can rent one with advance notice." Her eyebrows shot up. "Rent? Mom, we're family." "Yes, and family respects boundaries," I said firmly. "Why are you here, Jessica?" She collapsed onto my sofa. "The Millers are impossible. They've given us an actual lease with rules. No parties, quiet hours, limited guests." She threw up her hands. "It's like a dorm." "It's like being an adult tenant," I corrected. "And the rent, nearly $3,000. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money?" "The same place most adults do. A job." "I have a job. Part-time. Plus my jewelry business." Her business consisted of occasional bead necklaces sold to friends. It had never turned a profit. "Perhaps it's time to focus more on stable income," I suggested. "I can't believe you're being so cold," she snapped. "You've got all this money from selling our home." "My home?" I interjected. "And you won't help your own daughter and grandson." Tears welled in her eyes. "Mom, please. We can't afford the rent. Richard and Donna can't either." There it was, the real reason for her visit. Not to check on me, but to ask for money. "I'm sorry you're struggling," I said carefully, "but I'm not subsidizing your rent." "Then what am I supposed to do?" she cried, startling Michael. "The same thing millions of adults do every day. Problem solve, budget, make difficult choices." "You're punishing us. Punishing Michael, your own grandson." "No," I said calmly. "I'm finally holding you all accountable. There's a difference." She left in tears, dragging a confused Michael who kept asking why Grandma couldn't come home with them, Richard called that evening, his voice deceptively reasonable. "Ellie, we need to talk about this situation like adults." I almost laughed at the irony. "I'm listening." "We've looked at rentals. There's nothing comparable we can afford. You've put us in an impossible position. You've been living rent-free in my house for 15 years, Richard. You've had plenty of time to save." A pause. "That's beside the point. We're family. We should help each other." "I agree," I said. "When was the last time any of you helped me?" Another pause. "That's not fair. We've been emotional support. This time," I did laugh, a short, sharp sound. "Is that what you call it? Emotional support?" "Look," his voice hardened, "you've made your point. You're angry, but don't destroy this family out of spite." "I'm not destroying anything, Richard. I'm rebuilding my life." He hung up without saying goodbye. That night, watching stars from my balcony, I felt a moment of doubt. Had I been too harsh? Then I remembered Richard's voice. Useless. I remembered 15 years of giving while receiving nothing in return. I remembered that not once in all their communications had anyone asked how I was doing in my new home. No, I hadn't been too harsh. If anything, I'd been far too accommodating for far too long. I slept soundly that night, and the night after, and the night after that. Each day a little lighter than the one before. 6 weeks after moving to Sunshine Palms, I barely recognized my life. In the best way. My days had a pleasant rhythm filled with activities I'd chosen rather than obligations. Watercolor class on Mondays, book club on Wednesdays, weekend hiking, with Linda and our growing circle of friends. For the first time in decades, I was discovering who Eleanor Winters was when not defined by what she did for others. I'd started attending the second acts workshops. The career counselor, Diane, had been encouraging about my organizational skills. Administrative experience never goes out of style, she told me. Many doctors' offices hire part-time office managers. The idea of working again, on my terms, was unexpectedly appealing. My family's communications had settled into a pattern. Richard sent terse messages about family business that needed my attention, always financial issues. Jessica alternated between emotional pleas featuring Michael, he misses his grandma so much, and passive-aggressive jabs about my selfishness. I responded when I chose to, not out of obligation. Then one Thursday morning, I returned from my walk to find a familiar car in the visitor parking lot, Richard's silver Lexus. The car he'd bought during a midlife crisis, despite being 6 months behind on payments according to bills I'd found while packing. My stomach clenched. I considered avoiding whatever confrontation awaited, but this was my home. I wouldn't be made unwelcome in my own space again. Richard sat on the bench outside my door, wearing what I thought of as his business face, the expression he used when trying to intimidate someone. "Ellie," he nodded, standing. "Nice place. Very retirement community." "That's what it is," I replied, unlocking my door. I didn't invite him in. He followed anyway, looking around with the same calculating gaze Jessica had used. "No TV?" "In the bedroom. I prefer reading in the living room." He nodded absently, clearly uninterested. "We need to talk." "So talk." Richard sighed dramatically, lowering himself onto my sofa as if carrying the world's weight. "The Millers gave us an eviction notice." My eyebrows rose. "Already? You've only been paying rent for 2 months?" "That's just it," he admitted reluctantly. "We haven't exactly been paying. Not the full amount." "I see," I said, unsurprised. "And now they want you out." "They're being completely unreasonable." We explained our situation, which is? He shifted uncomfortably. "Things are tight right now. The job market. You've been unemployed for 15 years, Richard." His face reddened. "I've been pursuing opportunities." "While living rent-free in my house," I finished. "Our family home," he corrected. "My house," I repeated firmly. "Left to me by our parents, maintained by me, mortgaged by me." Richard's jaw tightened. "The point is, we need help. Actual help, not lectures." "What kind of help?" I asked, though I already knew. "Money. For back rent and security deposit for a new place. We found an apartment, but they want first and last month's rent plus deposit." "How much?" $7,000, he said quickly. 8 with moving costs. I let the number hang between us. "It's not like you don't have it," he added accusingly. "You got nearly $500,000 for the house." "Most of which is invested for my retirement," I replied, "and some went to this apartment. So you're just going to let your brother and his family end up homeless?" His voice rose. "Your own flesh and blood?" I studied this man who shared my parents in childhood but had become a stranger. "Richard," I said calmly, "you're 58. Donna is 54. You're both able-bodied with degrees. Why exactly can't you support yourselves?" His face darkened. "You know the economy? I know plenty of people your age who work," I interrupted, "including me, soon." That caught him off guard. "You're working? Where?" "I'm interviewing at Desert Springs Medical Center, part-time office management." He looked genuinely shocked, as if his retired sister re-entering the workforce was unfathomable. "The point is," I continued, "I'm not giving you money you haven't earned and won't appreciate." "Then what am I supposed to do?" He snapped, mask of reasonableness slipping. "That's not my problem to solve anymore." Richard stood abruptly, face flushed. "You know what? You've changed, Ellie. You used to care about family." "I still do," I replied evenly. "I just finally realized I'm part of that family too." After he stormed out, I sat waiting for the familiar waves of guilt. They didn't come. Instead, I felt a curious lightness, as if by refusing to rescue Richard, I'd stopped drowning myself. I got the job at Desert Springs, 3 days a week, organizing a busy dermatology practice. The doctors appreciated my efficiency, and I enjoyed the mental stimulation and extra income. A month passed without contact from my family. Then, on a November evening, Linda knocked on my door. "There's someone here to see you," she said. "Your nephew Carl. He's waiting in the community lounge." Carl had always been the quietest of my relatives, more observant than demanding, the one who had apologized when I moved out. He sat in a corner, thumbing through a magazine without seeing it. When he spotted me, he stood awkwardly. "Aunt Ellie," he said. "Thanks for seeing me." "Is everything all right?" I asked, noticing the shadows under his eyes. "Not exactly." He hesitated. "Mom and Dad got evicted last week." Despite everything, my heart sank a little. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be," he said with surprising firmness. "It was going to happen eventually." We sat in uncomfortable silence. "Where are they staying?" I finally asked. "With Jessica for now?" "It's tense." He ran a hand through his hair. "They're blaming you for everything." I gathered that. "I don't," he said quietly. I think they needed this wake-up call a long time ago." I studied him with new interest. "That's a mature perspective." He managed a small, tired smile. "I've been thinking a lot about responsibility, about growing up." "What brought this on?" Carl took a deep breath. "I got a job offer in Seattle, a good one, with a tech company. But Dad says I should turn it down because they need me here." "For what?" "Financial support," he admitted. "They want me to move in with them and Jessica, help pay rent." "And what do you want?" He looked surprised by the question, as if no one had bothered to ask before. "I want to take the job," he said softly. "I want to live my own life." I squeezed his hand. "Then you should. They'll say I'm abandoning them, like you did." "Carl," I said gently, "you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. I learned that the hard way." He nodded slowly. I think I needed to hear someone say that. After he left, I watched him walk to his car. There was a new straightness to his shoulders, a purpose in his stride that hadn't been there before. Maybe something good was coming from all this after all. Winter in Arizona brings a gentle coolness that makes even midday pleasant. As the holidays approached, sunshine palms transformed with subtle decorations, tasteful wreaths, twinkling lights along walkways, and a magnificent community tree that residents decorated together one festive evening. It was my first Christmas season on my own in decades, and I surprised myself by embracing it fully. I signed up for a holiday crafting workshop and created personalized ornaments for my new friends. I joined the community caroling group despite my mediocre singing voice. Small joys I'd denied myself for years while catering to my family's holiday demands. "You seem different," Linda observed as we sipped mulled cider at the community holiday party. "Lighter, somehow." "I feel lighter," I admitted. For years, Christmas meant cooking for 12, cleaning up after everyone, buying gifts with money I couldn't spare, and getting nothing but complaints in return. And this year? I smiled, surveying the room filled with my new community. This year, I'm celebrating with people who actually want me around. My contentment was disrupted 3 days before Christmas when Jessica showed up unannounced at my door, Michael in tow. The boy's face lit up when he saw me, rushing forward for a hug I couldn't help but return. Whatever issues I had with his mother, Michael remained innocent. "Grandma, we've been looking everywhere for you." "I've been right here, sweetheart," I said, smoothing his hair. "How are you doing?" "Okay, I guess. Mom says we have to have Christmas in our apartment this year because you sold our house." Jessica had the grace to look embarrassed. "Michael, why don't you go look at the swimming pool? You can see it from that bench over there." Once he was out of earshot, her demeanor shifted. "Nice of you to send a Christmas card, at least. Though a gift card would have been more helpful." "I did send presents for Michael," I pointed out. "They should have arrived yesterday." "Yes, books and art supplies. Not exactly what an 8-year-old boy wants." I bit back a retort about the thoughtful letter Michael had sent me last month, mentioning his interest in drawing. Jessica had never paid attention to her son's actual interests. "What do you want, Jessica?" I asked directly. She sighed dramatically. "It's Christmas, Mom. Family should be together." "Is that an invitation or a demand?" "Don't be difficult. We've set a place for you at dinner on Christmas Day." She named a time, adding, "And we're doing a gift exchange. Nothing extravagant, just something for everyone." Translation: bring presents for all of them despite the nothing extravagant disclaimer. "Where exactly is we?" I asked. "I thought Your apartment was small. It is, she admitted grudgingly. Uncle Richard and Aunt Donna are staying with us until they find a place, and Carl's home for the holidays. She didn't meet my eyes when mentioning Carl. I see. And everyone's contributing to this dinner? Well, I'm hosting, so obviously I'm providing the space. Uncle Richard is bringing wine. Aunt Donna's making dessert. The defensive tone told me everything I needed to know about who would be expected to handle the main cooking. I have plans, I said simply. Jessica blinked, clearly not expecting refusal. What plans? You're in a retirement village. I have a community dinner here, followed by a concert where I'm singing in the choir. You're choosing strangers over your family at Christmas? Her voice rose incredulously. I'm choosing to spend the holiday in a positive environment, I corrected. But I'd be happy to have Michael visit the day after. There's a children's holiday movie showing in our community center. So you'll see Michael, but not the rest of us? That's right. Jessica's face flushed with anger. This is because of the house, isn't it? You're still punishing us. No, Jessica. I'm simply making choices that bring me peace instead of stress. I kept my voice calm, though my heart was racing. You're welcome to join us for the movie if you'd like. Forget it, she snapped. If you don't want to be part of this family anymore, fine. As she collected Michael and stormed off, I felt the familiar twinge of guilt. Was I being too harsh? Then I remembered all the Christmases I'd spent cooking, cleaning, and catering to everyone else's needs while my own were ignored. The guilt faded. I kept my phone nearby that Christmas day, half expecting angry calls or manipulative messages. None came. Instead, I received a simple text from Carl. Merry Christmas, Aunt Ellie. Hope it's peaceful. Attached was a photo of a stunning Seattle skyline, snow-capped mountains in the distance. He'd taken the job. January brought unexpected news. I was reviewing the community bulletin board when I noticed an advertisement for a nearby apartment complex, newly renovated 2-bedroom unit starting at $1,500 a month. The following weekend, while driving to the mall, I took a detour past the address. I nearly missed the turn when I spotted a familiar figure exiting the leasing office, Richard holding what appeared to be rental paperwork. I slowed my car, watching as he walked to where Donna waited in the passenger seat of their Lexus. They seemed to be arguing, Richard gesturing emphatically while Donna shook her head. Curiously, I drove past the complex again a week later. The silver Lexus was parked outside one of the units. They'd found housing they could afford after all. February brought another visit from Carl, this time planned and announced. We met at a cafe halfway between Sunshine Palms and the airport. You look great, Aunt Ellie, he said. And he meant it. The job agrees with you. I'm enjoying it more than I expected, I admitted. How's Seattle? His face brightened instantly. Amazing. The company is everything I hoped for. And I'm actually saving money, if you can believe it. I'm proud of you. He smiled, then grew serious. I wanted to tell you something. Dad got a job. I nearly choked on my tea. Richard? Working? Carl nodded. At a hardware store. Part-time, but still. And Mom's talking about getting her realtor license renewed. What prompted this? Miracle? Necessity, mostly. But I think. He hesitated. I think seeing you rebuild your life made an impression. Dad would never admit it. But when I told them I took the Seattle job, he said something like, at least someone in this family still has ambition. I digested this information silently. Richard working, Donna considering restarting her career. My brother, who had spent 15 years between opportunities, was finally facing reality. How's Jessica managing? I asked. Carl's expression darkened slightly. Not as well. She's still expecting everyone else to solve her problems. Mom and Dad are paying most of the rent because she claims she can't work full-time with Michael. And they're going along with it? For now. His tone suggested that arrangement might not last. But honestly, I think she's the only one who hasn't figured out that things have changed. After Carl left, I sat reflecting on our conversation. My family was adapting, some more willingly than others. Not because I'd rescued them, but precisely because I hadn't. Spring arrived, painting the desert with wildflowers. I was tending my small balcony garden one April morning when my phone rang. Jessica's number. Mom? Her voice wavered. I need to talk to you. I'm listening, I said cautiously. In person? Please? It's important. We arranged to meet at a cafe, near my community. When I arrived, Jessica was already there, fingers nervously shredding a napkin. No Michael in sight. Thank you for coming, she began, uncharacteristically subdued. I've been thinking a lot lately. I waited silently, curious but wary. Uncle Richard and Aunt Donna are moving out next month, she continued. They found a smaller place, just for themselves, I see, which means I can't afford my apartment anymore. She took a shaky breath. I've been looking for full-time work, but with my resume gaps and limited experience, here it was, another request for money. I steeled myself to refuse gently, but firmly. I was wondering, Jessica said, eyes fixed on the table, if you might know of any openings at your medical center. For reception or administrative work, something I could learn? I stared at her, genuinely surprised. You're asking about a job? She nodded, finally meeting my gaze. I need to support myself and Michael, for real this time. For the first time, in our conversation, perhaps in years, I heard sincerity in her voice. I can speak with the hiring manager, I said carefully, but you'd need to be reliable, punctual, professional, no excuses, no drama. I know, she said quietly. I'm ready to try. As I drove home afterward, I felt a curious mix of emotions, cautious optimism, lingering skepticism, and something like pride. Not in myself, but in the possibility that my daughter might finally be growing up. Perhaps the hardest lesson I'd taught my family was one I'd needed to learn myself. True love doesn't enable dependence. It encourages growth. 1 year after selling my house, I sat in the community garden at Sunshine Palms. My tomatoes and herbs thrived in the Arizona sun while Linda tended her peppers nearby. At 64, I'd never felt more at peace. My phone chimed, Michael's school play, 5 p.m. His handmade invitation with the note, I'm playing the tree and I have 3 lines, made me smile. Jessica had been working at Desert Springs Medical Center for 6 months now. Despite a rocky start, she'd persevered. Her recent review exceeds expectations. We'd established a new relationship, not as close, but honest. She visited twice monthly, sometimes with Michael, sometimes alone. Reflecting? Linda asked, joining me. It's been exactly a year, I replied. Any regrets? Not about selling, though sometimes I wish I'd done it sooner. Better late than never, she offered. I still worry about them sometimes, I admitted. They seem so fragile. That's not your responsibility, Linda reminded me. You've actually helped them become self-sufficient. Family is complicated. Ain't that the truth? At the elementary school, I arrived 20 minutes early, punctuality being one of my newfound freedoms. Jessica hurried in just before showtime, still in her work clothes. You made it, I said, genuinely pleased. Switched shifts with Angela. No way I'd miss Michael's debut. As the lights dimmed, she whispered, Thanks for coming, Mom. It means a lot to Michael. And to me. Her sincerity touched me. Nowhere else I'd rather be. Michael made an excellent tree. I clapped until my hands hurt. Afterward, at the ice cream parlor, Jessica surprised me. I've been looking at smaller apartments, she said. Now that Richard and Donna are moving out, mine's too expensive. Plus, I found one closer to work and Michael's school. That sounds sensible, I said, impressed. I can afford it now, especially with my raise coming. I've been saving for the deposit, she hesitated. There's something else. I'm taking online accounting courses. That's quite a commitment with work and Michael, just one class at a time. But I want better opportunities eventually. While Michael examined the coin-operated rocket ship, Jessica lowered her voice. Mom, I'm sorry for how I treated you all those years, for taking you for granted. I sat very still, surprised. When you left, I was furious. I thought you were being selfish. But now I understand what you were teaching us about respect and independence. I wasn't trying to teach anyone, I said softly. I was just saving myself, maybe, but it helped us too. She met my eyes. I want Michael to grow up respecting himself and others, not entitled like I was. I squeezed her hand, too moved for words. The following Sunday, Carl texted, I'm in town. Can I stop by with someone? Hours later, he arrived with a woman with bright eyes and a warm smile. Aunt Ellie, this is Diana, my fiancé. They told me about meeting at work and their plans for a small fall wedding. We just want something meaningful with people who matter, Diana explained. You're the first to know, Carl added. You've been more supportive than anyone. I'd like you to be there. I wouldn't miss it, I promised, touched. That evening, I reflected on the year's changes. Jessica finding her footing as a working mother, Carl building a life based on love, even Richard and Donna adjusting to independence. The same mouths, that once called me useless now spoke words of gratitude and determination. The same people who expected me to serve their needs now worked to meet their own. I discovered that boundaries create not just protection, but possibility. That sometimes the most loving thing we can do is stop carrying others and let them find their strength. As twilight settled over the desert, I thought about that morning when I'd overheard my family call me useless. The anger had faded, replaced by something more powerful. Certainty that I'd made the right choice, not just for myself, but for all of us. Sometimes freedom is the greatest gift, to ourselves and to those who need to learn independence. Sometimes the bravest act of love is simply to walk away. And sometimes the circle completes itself in ways we never imagined possible.